Hey, when my girls start to trip and hate before escape, I call Sirius XM 98. Yeah, Thursdays, the Foxxhole 7 to 9 to talk to ZoWilliams before I lose my mind. Yeah, I need advice on my relationship, cause I'm about to start breaking. I can't take it no more. I got to holler at Zoe, the relationship pro. Before I pack up and go, I got my foot out the door and then for leaving. But first, let me holler at Zoe, the voice of reason. I got one foot out the door and then for leaving. But first, let me holler at Zoe, the voice of reason.
Ladies and gentlemen, Zometheus Rising is back in the building. Oh my God, you know I got crazy shows and crazy topics. Tonight is a special show because as I do this show, I'm in the air, flying, preparing to do another crazy live event with the Foxxhole in none other than Atlantic City. It's going to be crazy, but I couldn't leave my fans hanging. So guess what we're about to do? We're about to have fun. We're about to do a Voice of Reason kind of all-star special show where we just do the best of, where we talk about some of my favorite topics, some of my favorite shows, and we play some of those clips. So I'm about to take a quick break, but when I come back, we're going to get into my first clip, and we're going to talk about the shows that I like, and maybe, you know, it'll remind you of some of the things you forgot that we've covered in the few years that we've been on the radio. Great topics. Let's have some fun. I'll see you in a couple minutes. Yo! ZoWilliams, the voice of reason, Foxxhole Radio. I'm telling you, it's the hottest radio network in the world. Comedy, relationships, current event, music. We do it all here. You're listening to Sirius XM 98. I'm ZoWilliams, the voice of reason. I'm here every Thursday. And tonight, you know what I'm doing. We having fun tonight because I want you guys to talk about the best of at the water cooler tomorrow. And you know I got the greatest topics in all of talk radio, all of relationship talk radio. And let me just talk about one of my favorite shows that we've done. And I've been having a great time doing it, coming up with these topics. But one of my favorite, we did it this year, 2011. It was crazy. Who created the, let me just give it to you right. Who creates and maintains the rift between gods and gays? And let me tell you how crazy this show was. We had a blogger on from Atlanta. She's crazy. Her name is Cadillac Kimberly. She's crazy. She got into it with this pastor, good friend of mine. His name is Pastor Chuck Singleton out of Loveland here in Southern California. He has a mega church, 10,000 members. Very respected brother, deep brother. But this show was very powerful because, you know, you got a lot of people out there who damn, you know, homosexuals, who judge them and abuse them and persecute them. And in light of what Tracy Morgan has just gone through, we could see some of the ramifications that happens when that happens. So this show covered a lot of that. And a lot of times, man, sometimes our shows are ahead of the game. So what I'd like you to do is kick back and relax and listen to this clip, man, because it was a very heated show. It was very intense. Check it out. Email me. Once you check it out, email me. I'm at zo@SiriusXM.com. You can get in contact with me. Follow me on Twitter, too, at ZoWilliams. All right?
Praise the Lord. What's happening?
What is happening?
Baby, I got opinions on so much I've heard thus far, especially the pastor. Praise the Lord, Pastor.
Bless you. Bless you.
I've got three things that I have a problem with that you stated thus far.
Talk to me.
But I want to first start off with what Zoe said. First of all, Zoe, you know I'm in the A. I'm from Boston. I'm frequent back and forth.
Yes.
But the subject on the table right now, you said, is this the way that we are to stop creating amongst ourselves? Is that the question that you put on the table as?
Right. You know, nature's birth control. It's homosexuality and lesbianism, nature's birth control. That's what I'm
It's not nature at all. Nature is of God. This is of the enemy.
So you believe that Satan is responsible for homosexuality?
Satan and or demonic spirits or ways, but time is winding down. The earth is descending. You know what I'm saying? So it is winding down. And homosexuality, somebody's got to be gay so that scripture can be fulfilled.
So God created homosexuals to be tormented?
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying even a pedophile. Even if you see a pedophile walking the street, that doesn't mean he's going to hell because he's a pedophile. He may have grace to be here so that Scripture can be fulfilled. There's only so much that we know in this life, and based on the book.
Pastor, what do you think?
Well, I would love to hear where my beloved sister, who I just met, disagrees with me. But let me just say to her, I agree with her, but with a slight twist. I don't agree that it's a matter of God doing it for the Scriptures to be fulfilled. I think the Scriptures are there because he knew what we were going to do rather than the other way around. The point behind everything I'm saying, beloved, is this, that when Adam fell, all of creation fell. And in came sickness, in came disease, in came sin.
But wait a minute, Pastor. Don't we get a couple of reprieves after Adam? I mean, Noah, we had a reprieve there when God just said, you know what, I don't even like humans no more. They acted crazy. I'm going to destroy everybody except for his family and his sons, and we're going to put 38 million different insects and all kind of animals on this boat, and we're going to start over. We're going to wash the world with water. Isn't that a reprieve from the fall of Adam?
You can call it a reprieve, but I think the issue
is
this.
And wait, one other reprieve is Jesus. The blood of Jesus was supposed to rectify and cleanse things as well, correct? We got a couple of reprieves since Adam, right?
Not for this life. In other words, Jesus didn't come to save us for this world. He came to save us for the next one. He even said himself when he's about to be crucified, my kingdom is not of this world. When Adam fell, all of creation fell. In came sickness, in came sin, in came disease, the common cold, cancer, and all kinds of sexual sicknesses, whatever kind there might be.
But isn't that an assumption?
No,
you say all kind of sexual.
It's systematic theology. It's more than an assumption. That is exactly what the bottom line teaching of the Scripture is. That all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. So all have a preponderance and a tendency towards sin.
So then it's predetermined. And if it's predetermined, didn't God already know that these people will be homosexuals and thus go against His law?
Choices within that predetermination.
So is the power of choice and will outside of the power of God?
No.
Is it autonomous of God? Then God knows.
No.
Then God allows.
It's like two parallel lines, the sovereignty of God and the free will of man. And they never cross, they never clash. But they're two different things.
Cadillac Kim, come in, talk to me.
Pastor, first of all, you ordained or you self-ordained?
Oh, no, this is an ordained cat right here.
Okay,
I'm not a Christian, but I roll with Pastor
No, I'm just saying I have to know because some people think because they call themselves, they're called. That's not always the case. Second, my thing is if a person is homosexual, but yet no one has to be that way for Scripture to be fulfilled, then who's going to be gay for the Bible to be the way it is? Somebody's got to be gay in order for Scripture to be fulfilled. That's crazy to me. How you going to be a woman with the issue of blood and you don't have an issue with it? How's that going to work?
Okay, well, no, I wasn't saying that there won't be gay people. What I'm saying is that God didn't make them to fulfill the Scripture. I'm saying that.
Stop right there, please. How is Scripture going to be fulfilled if what He said does not come to pass?
Okay, what He says will come to pass and is coming to pass.
So let me just get this straight. Let me understand you, Cadillac Kim. Are you saying that homosexuality and lesbianism and all of that stuff plays an integral part in the unfoldment of God's ultimate plan?
Yes.
And we agree there. I do agree that all of that and fornication and adultery, other things play
and
a role
stealing.
All of that plays a role in the unfolding of things. But what I'm saying is this, that God did not say, okay, I'm going to write a book called the Bible, so now let me make some gay people so they can fulfill it.
Because that would be, let me just say, if
that
is the case.
I know you didn't, but that's, as I said, it was only a slight twist of a difference from you. It wasn't total contradiction for what you said.
Bottom line, okay, so what about people who commit adultery? If no one commits adultery, how is Scripture fulfilled? Everybody has a role to play in order for the word to be manifest.
So, Kim, let me go deeper. Are you saying again that sin is a tool of God?
Yeah, it's a tool.
Okay. What do you think? What do you, Pastor?
Well, Kim, because see, that's kind of a fatalistic view. The reality is God set us in motion. Yeah, fatalistic.
Well, I won't be bad about the next comment I got because I get homosexuality from you in my discernment. But go ahead.
From me?
Yep, I get a little sugar in your tank. I've been.
Well, let me help you out.
No, I don't need no help from you because I feel like.
Well, no, yes, you do, darling, because you're talking in front of millions of people. So I'm on.
You can't help me. Everybody can't help me.
Let me help other viewers. Then.
Okay,
let me explain to you. I am strictly a heterosexual man.
Wait, hold on, Kim. Let him finish.
I'm strictly heterosexual. Been married over 30 years, one wife, 4 sons. And no sugar in my tank, okay, just to help you out on that.
Okay.
But what I'm saying, and I think probably it's a matter of misunderstanding, when I say fatalistic, that's not an accusation. I'm saying the theology of what you're saying leads to fatalism, which is no matter what happens, it's going to be a certain way. Mm-hmm. I don't believe that that's what the Bible teaches.
Well, you also don't believe that you're an ambassador for Christ, because you said if 2 lesbians come down and they ask for help or whatever, you ask them what they want to do. Your job as an ambassador of Christ is to tell them regardless what the word says. So you lost me right then.
Well, okay, because you misunderstood me.
Okay,
and I think the only way to deal with that is if you want to talk, maybe we can talk a little further, but probably offline we can talk a little bit deeper so you can see what we did.
Well, go deeper, Pastor.
All right.
I mean,
now I'm not sure what Kim got. Now I want to try to address her, but I'm not sure I can. I think we got off track somewhere in our understanding of one another. What I was saying about the lesbian ladies that came forward is that we did not know when they came forward, said they wanted to join the church, looked like a man and a woman. They go in the back for counseling.
So one was a stud.
Yeah.
You said 5
Got
to
it.
You said 5 to 10 minute counseling. You can't put a time on counseling, but go ahead.
Well, but this is a quick assessment. Go ahead,
Kim,
Pastor.
You have to do it your way, okay? And we do it ours. So we get in the back and we're counseling. And she takes off her hat, and then it's clear that it's a woman. Mm-hmm. The counselors would not have been confused if their pastor had sugar in his tank or whatever else you might want to say. It was obviously a confusing point. So they called me to get some clarification on what should be done in that setting and how to handle the situation. Mm-hmm. So that was what happened with the 2 lesbian ladies. We then began counseling with them and dealing with whatever the problems are.
And the purpose of you counseling them was to let me be. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to ZoWilliams, the voice of reason, Foxxhole Radio, Sirius 106, XM 149. Tonight's topic: who created and maintains the rift between God and gays? Get on their phone lines. I'm gonna be coming to you callers shortly. 877-210-6106 is the number to dial. And if you're homosexual, please call in. If you're bisexual, call in. I need to know what you think. Now, let me get back to the point here. I mean, because it's very important that we clear this up right here. When you were counseling, Pastor, the lesbian couple, is your objective to turn them from being lesbian? In effect, breaking up their relationship?
I think for us, the first objective, I'll tell you a little more of the story. What happened is the counselor, the gentleman who was counseling them, first asked the apparent male to take off his hat. Which I object to. Now, I want to use that as an illustration of the point. Mm-hmm. And I told him later, you shouldn't ask him to take off his hat. That's irrelevant. Mm-hmm. So in other words, you're saying you can't come to God until you get your hat off. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. In the same way, if a person is lesbian or has a problem with alcohol or drugs or whatever it might be, you don't put a precondition on coming to Christ. Mm-hmm. If they want to come to Christ, you bring them to Christ. And whatever's
come
wrong,
as you are.
Whatever, just as I am without one plea, whatever's wrong will fall off. Mm-hmm. Now, you can help them and talk. They may ask. They probably will. Most people that I've known, that I've led to Christ, have asked, well, what do I do about this problem I'm having, whether it's cigarettes or something a lot more serious? What do I do about this issue? Mm-hmm. And then you talk to them about it. They get conviction in their own spirit from the Holy Spirit. Mm-hmm. And at that point, you discuss whatever the issue might be that they want to discuss. And just so happened in this case, it was homosexuality.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Pastor Chuck Singleton, chucksingleton.com. Again, our special guest is Pastor Chuck Singleton, as well as the incomparable Cadillac Kim. And she has an extremely popular YouTube channel. I'm telling you, it's off the chain. And if you've ever seen it, you'll see her do parodies of Bishop Eddie Wrong. She's got like little dolls, and it's crazy. And she has a very outspoken opinion. I have a question for you, Caddy Kim. Mm-hmm. Is the church the favored rest haven for undercover homosexuality and activities?
Not necessarily. It's dormant, undercover everywhere. Everywhere you go.
So maybe the contradiction of it manifests in the church more pointedly because the church is against it, right?
Supposedly, you got some that are openly for gay people, so it just depends on where you worship.
So what do you think about the homosexual reverend?
Who? The one you got on your show, or you talking about it alone?
The brother on the show is not homosexual. I'm talking.
Hey, Kim, let me help you. This is Pastor Chuck. Let me help you, dear.
You can't help me. I already refused your help.
Let me.
I don't want no help from you.
Well, then let me say to you then, okay? Let me say not so humorously. I curse that in Jesus' name.
Uh-oh.
Now you deal with that, all right?
Rebuke me. I'll take that.
You were rebuked. Consider yourself rebuked.
I hope I'm
all
right.
right.
I hope I'm wrong.
Well, you'll find out one.
Well,
You'll find out one way or another, either
Y'all
on this side or the next. All right, let's go on now.
This is what I don't want. I don't want any Sealy curses going on from the color purple.
Well, I wasn't cursing her. I was cursing her
I
statement.
rebuke all day. It doesn't bother me.
All right, so this is what I'm going to do really quickly. I'm going to go to some callers real quick to abate this disagreement. Second chance. Holla at me. Turn your radio down, brother. Turn your radio down just a taste.
My bad. I didn't know you called me.
It's all good. Talk to me, man.
So this my second time calling. I'm going to try to get this out as fast as possible. What I mean to say is, when I was a little boy, I was told that it was a rite of passage for a boy to be touched or to do certain things with another man. And so for several years, I went through this, what do you call a gate of passage, thinking at 5, 6 years old, I'm a big boy now. I've gone through this. So it took me till I was 20 years old to come to my mother, or to come to the grips with the fact that, am I gay? Am I straight? Am I gay? Am I straight? And the Lord told me, son, that the devil cannot torment you with something that does not bother you. I knew within myself that I was a heterosexual male. I never had a male-on-male interaction after that. But there's a lot of young men and young women out here who have been touched, who have been groped, who have been put through the ringer by the same-sex people, and it has left them confused throughout their entire life.
Wow.
It took me to my 20s for God to deal with me to the point where I could talk about it. I hid it for so long. There was a point in my life where I had gone through so many women trying to prove to myself that I was not gay.
Wow, this is a heavy call right here. Again, the grooming that he mentioned, because when he said he was being touched as a young boy. Thank you for the caller, brother. Brother. I really appreciate that, you being so candid and open. Again, it reminds me of the abuse that happens to children now. We don't want to talk about the church and its abuse of children. We talk about the Catholic Church and the priests constantly moving people around, but then at the same time go to Africa and say don't use condoms when Africa is 75% infected with the HIV virus, right? So they said, don't use condoms, just think abstinence. In Africa, the mother of all civilization, every human being on planet Earth came out of Africa, and you telling them not to have sex, but at the same time, you'll defile the children. So again, the grooming that he talked about is classic pedophile behavior. How do we deal with that, Pastor?
Well, I don't think there's any question but that the contradiction of the church has to be eliminated. And the only way to do that is that if strong voices stand up and say, here's the truth. We got to stop playing around and deal with, like you mentioned a moment ago, just in passing, that priests were moved around rather than dealt with, rather than being defrocked and put out of the church. They were simply moved around. That was wrong. And now we pay for it. It comes back after a period of time, and chickens come home to roost.
Wow. Kim,
may I
what do you
please
think?
say this? Pastor, since you want so much to help me, let me help you. I heard you immediately say, I'm not gay, I'm married. That doesn't mean anything. Carry
You
on.
didn't hear me say that.
Yes,
You
yes,
didn't.
you just
No,
did. You just
no,
said,
no.
I'm
What
married.
you
just
heard
said-
me say I'm married, but I wasn't. I'm not gay. I'm not gay. I'm married. That
you
is
said,
weak.
You said in your
No,
defense,
let me
I'm
just
not-
make it clear to you.
You've been had the floor almost the whole. This ain't your church. This is Zoe's show. We're gonna share this. You speaking, then I speak. You've been speaking the majority of the time.
my dear lady, you're speaking about me, and I'm telling you,
listen,
I'm
It
telling
does
you,
sound personal, Kim.
It's very personal.
I'm regurgitating to you back what you said out of your own mouth. I'm sitting here listening to you, writing down word for word what you said. You said, I'm not gay. You said, first of all, I've been married for whatever you said, 20, 30 years. Like, that immediately excludes you. And I want to clear
I
up for
didn't
those
say it that way.
listening.
That's
I
not
want
the
to
way
clear
I
up for those,
said.
for everybody else besides yourself who heard you say.
Listen, lady,
Look,
let me
you're so
explain
quick
something to you.
interrupt. You're so quick. What you
No,
scared
no,
of?
I'm gonna
What
interrupt you
scared
because
of?
you're talking
What
about
you
me.
scared might come out. Why don't you let me talk and then you talk?
No, let me just explain to you.
Man, go ahead.
What you
on.
need to do,
Man,
what
go
you need
ahead
to do.
on.
Okay,
let
hold
me
on.
say,
Let's do this.
If you want to
Hold
discuss
on.
with me whether I'm gay when you don't know me, and I'm telling you I'm a man of God, I'm reminding you. Let me just speak in your language. That what you're doing is you're stepping into a spiritual realm that you don't want to deal with, and I'm telling you, not from me, I'm telling you from God, that you're way off track, and I'm asking you for your own sake to back up on that point.
Topic, Zoe.
And let's do this. Let's all be respectful here
Thank
on the
you.
voice of reason. This is, come on now.
Be reasonable.
Let's be reason. Can we come
I'm
together?
trying to be. Every time I open my mouth, he wants to overtalk me. This
Can
in your
we-
pulpit, darling.
Can we come together and be respectful? Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the voice of reason. ZoWilliams, Foxxhole Radio. It's going down up in here. It's out of control. Who created and maintains the rift between God and gays is the topic tonight. Pastor Chuck Singleton is my special guest and friend, as well as Caddy Kim. Cadillac Kim is on the line with us right now, and she's very opinionated. Vlogger extraordinaire. We're about to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to get some more callers. 877-2106-106 is the number to dial. We'll be back at 2.2. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Zomithius Rising, the voice of reason. I have returned, and tonight's topic, there is no topic again. We're doing the best of, and one of my favorite shows was, well, before I get into that, let me tell you who Zomithius Rising is. I was given this name by a very wonderful young lady, talented lady, actress. She was on The Voice of Reason a couple of years ago, and she's about to get married. None other than Niecy Nash. A lot of people don't know about Prometheus. Prometheus in Greek mythology was the one who stole the fire from the gods and gave it to the men. Well, fire represents illumination, right? It represents enlightenment. So she said, instead of Prometheus Rising, which is a book written by Robert Anton Wilson, great book, I have it, you should go get it and read it. She said, we're going to call you Zomithius. I said, well, there it is. That's my title from now on. But anyway, enough of Niecy Nash and her naming skills. Let me tell you another one of my favorite shows. Now, this show had one of the most profound sisters in the personal wellness self-help game. And she really got her start with Oprah Winfrey many years ago, and then they fell out, and then they did that climactic reunion on the Oprah Winfrey show. This show had Iyanla Van Zant on, right? And the name of this show was the Verbal Abuse Show. And when I tell you Sister Girl came in and dropped heavy information about how we damage each other with slights and disrespectful comments and put downs, and oh man, this show was powerful. Trust me when I tell you. Tell me how you feel about it. Don't forget to tweet me. Listen to this clip about verbal abuse. I'll be back.
So thank you so much for inviting me. This is a really timely and important topic that you're talking about, because just as you say, we live in a society where we're not only abusive, we're violent. And verbal abuse, I believe, is a form of violence. Anything that diminishes or disempowers or serves to demean another individual is absolute abuse, and it's also violent. But we have become so immune to violence. It's all around us. We just don't even see it anymore. We don't even recognize when someone is being violent anymore.
Right, we're numb to it. And the research that I've done, I mean, we've done other shows on domestic violence. We've done all kind of different types of violent shows just to expose it a little bit. And what I found out is that they got some, clinicians and psychologists and stuff. They like to put words together and term things and then abbreviate them. So I did I did the research, and I found out about something called IPV, intimate partner violence.
Yeah.
And then I found out some other stuff, CCV, common couple violence.
Mm-hmm.
And what they're saying is violence is pervasive in every form of relationship, whether it be teen, whether it be young adults, whether it be
parent to child, supervisor to worker, very prevalent, supervisor to worker.
Yes, it's everywhere, right?
It really is.
And then I find out that verbal abuse is
number one,
is the precursor to physical abuse.
In many cases, it is. And sometimes the verbal abuse is so damaging it never has to escalate to physical abuse. I sense that verbal abuse is a multi-sensory form of violence, meaning you see it, you hear it. 9 times out of 10, you see the person who's delivering it upon you. And depending upon your relationship with that person, your expectations of that person, your attachment to that person, now you're hearing it, you're seeing it. And words, because they have energy, every word has an energy. Words are what we use to create our world. Then you're also feeling it. So it creates a psychological trigger, an emotional trigger, a spiritual trigger, and a physical trigger. So words are multisensory.
Right.
You know, you could get hit in the head with a brick and never know where the brick is coming from, and you'd have a physical response and probably a psychological response, probably not an emotional or a spiritual response because the brick just fell off the building. But when your husband, your lover, your mother, your sister, your brother calls you names and dismisses you, demeans you, degrades you, sets out to cause you emotional distress of some form, then you have a multisensory experience.
Now, let me ask you this. Would you say, I mean, like you just said, physical violence, it leaves a mark, right? There's a discernible, somebody did something to you when it comes to physical abuse.
Right.
But verbal abuse or emotional abuse seems to be subtle in the sense that although there's no discernible marks, it appears that the damage or the effect of the verbal abuse actually goes deeper. Could you give us insight into what a verbally abused person may look like, may behave like?
It may look like me. I was verbally abused as a child. It may look like you. I don't know if you were verbally abused. I mean, there are no telltale signs, but commonly, or most commonly, what happens is this is a person with very low self-esteem, low self-worth, self-value, a person that doesn't trust their choices or decisions. One of the ways that it shows up in life is procrastination. Very often people who are long-time, hardcore procrastinators, putting things off, not being able to get things done, not being able to make a firm decision, or people who have been verbally abused or verbally undermined. You know, it's such a covert and insidious thing. Here's a classic case of verbal abuse. You don't want to do that, do you?
Come on, give me some more. That is,
you don't
really want to do that, do you?
Right. Because what it does is it undermines the choice. It undermines the decision. A more appropriate way to present something like that is have you thought about what you're doing? You know,
right?
Have you really thought about what you're doing? Let's talk about what you're planning. Let's see if we can really look at the opportunities, possibilities, consequences. See, we've never really been taught how to communicate. So we've picked up very bad habits and very bad behavior. And so the verbal abuse, as you said, is rampant in our society.
But not only rampant, we also have to put the title normal.
Yeah, it's normal. It's not natural, but it is normal.
It is normal.
And what's even more insidious, because your first question was, what does a person who's been verbally abused look like? One of the other classic signs is someone who won't speak up for themselves. Because if you've been verbally demeaned, diminished, dismissed as a child or in your experienced growing up, it'll be hard for you to stand up and speak up for yourself because you won't trust what you're going to say, or you want to try to avoid the pain. One of the, people sometimes don't even know that they've been verbally abused. Mm-hmm. I always find people who try to think for the other person. I'm not going to say that because if I say this, they're going to say so-and-so. That person has had some form of verbal violence perpetrated.
Walking on eggshells.
That's right. Walking on eggshells, procrastination, not trusting, indecision. All of these are signs very often, not, in every case, very often signs of people who have experienced verbal abuse.
Reverend Doctor, really quickly, we got to take a quick break.
Okay.
But we're going to, please hold that thought. We're going to come right back to you. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the voice of reason, ZoWilliams on Foxxhole Radio. We have none other than Dr. Reverend Iyanla Van Zant in the building. This is important. We will be back in a quick second. Holla. Ladies and gentlemen, it's none other than the voice of reason, ZoMetheus Rising on Foxxhole Radio, Sirius XM 98, the voice of reason. Tonight's topic, there is no topic. You know why? It is the best of show because I'm in the air. I'm on my way to Atlantic City. It's going to be off the chain. Listen, but I want you to talk about all of the shows that we've done on this this network, Foxxhole. I mean, we've had so many incredible topics. One of my favorites, let me just get into my favorites because I have a list of shows that I thought was just ridiculous. The Relationship Password. Man, with the technology, the way that it is right now, we had so many guests on, authors, and these authors reached out to me and was like, man, I sold so many books because people were trying to protect themselves from having their text messages found, or how to protect their cell phones from being broken in, or how to protect their computers. And basically, they were just saying privacy is dead nowadays. And the more entrenched we become in technology, the less amount of, privacy we have. This show was called The Relationship Password. It ain't never cool to go through your partner's stuff, whether it's technical or not. But apparently, because of technology, it's really easy to get into it. Listen to this clip and tell me what you think. I'm telling you, this was a great, great, great show. Voice of Reason, I'll be back in a second.
You have to look at levels of privacy, and for most people, they're probably not willing to go to the full level, so you have to look at what level of privacy am I willing to work for, and what level of public information can I tolerate. So you got to find that personal balance. Somebody like J.J. Luna, I've known the man most the past 15 years, worked closely with him. I don't know where he lives. I don't know his phone number. I couldn't find his phone number, his Social Security number. But if somebody is not a celebrity or not a political figure with a tiny amount of information, I could probably have their Social Security number, their address, their background information, their relatives' names, I'd say within 40 minutes.
Are you telling me that privacy in and of itself is an illusion?
The aspects of privacy were gone long ago. And if you look at it, the BlackBerry, is in trouble. They're in trouble in China because of encrypted messages, and the government wants to be able to read all of the messages. And wow. I think you can pretty much be certain right now that all of your email traffic and your cell phone conversations are being filtered by national security, looking for a key word. So privacy is gone.
So how does that affect our relationships? If a man or a woman wanted to find out something on the person they're dating, it's relatively simple to go out and get it now, isn't it?
Extremely. And I've advised both sides, people that wanted to find information and people who were trying to avoid being found. So I've seen it from both sides, and I think that, J.J. Luna and I probably diverge a little bit. I think that in relationships, good make good lovers, just like good fences make good neighbors. And I think that J.J. Luna would tell his readers, the people that follow him, if you're not married, under no circumstances should you share any password with anybody. If you're married, you've become one, and now everything has to be shared.
Does that mean because we're married, you can go through my stuff at your discretion.
I think that's a recipe
just based on a
trouble.
hunch. Like, I don't feel right, so let me go through your stuff. Is that right?
Well, what I think is happening here is that the same human issues and relationships, they go back to the dawn of humanity. But technology is raising a curtain of denial about what is really going on. So in the past, where you couldn't get access to this information, your partner could fulfill a role that you had built for yourself in your own head. Your view of that person was created in your head. And now we have the technology to destroy that and see the quote-unquote real person. But that itself is an illusion, because there could be innocent conversations in your email that a person who was looking for a cheater would interpret as cheating. And so you just get into a big mess.
Right, because we start getting into communication. They'll say, researchers will say the internet, email, SMS, text messaging, instant messaging, these are lean mediums of communication, which means they void out behavioral cues, the tone of voice. So now it leaves a lot of what is text and written, it leaves it subject to interpretation.
Absolutely.
So it's a lot of people feel like they can tell more of the truth about themselves because there's less rejection than there would be in a face-to-face conversation with someone. So now people are starting to shed their inhibitions because of that, but they're also starting to aggrandize. So it's a mixed bag of stuff that you're getting on the internet. We have some callers online, John. Would you mind if we talk to them for a moment?
Sure.
Let me just say once again for my listeners who are just tuning in, we have attorney John V. Clark on the phone. He assisted in the book called How to Be Invisible, the essential guide to protecting your personal privacy, your assets, and your life, written by J.J. Luna. You should go out and check that book out. The attorney just told us he doesn't even know where J.J. is. He doesn't have his phone number. He doesn't know where he lives. J.J. is off the grid. He's invisible. And in this society, it's becoming increasingly more difficult to become invisible. There is a digital footprint for every time you touch that keyboard. Keystrokes are being captured. Privacy, like my man just said, is an illusion. With that said, I'm going right to Illinois. Vanessa, you're on the Voice of Reason. It's time to talk to me. What's up?
I think privacy, to a certain extent, is good in a relationship. But when you get online and find out that not only the person you are dating is your second cousin, but you are also pregnant by that person, it's kind of crazy. So the good thing is it's not me personally, but one of my good friends had that situation to them. Well, had that situation happen to them, and not only that, but I mean through the email, he found out that his girl was also saying stuff about him and so on and so forth. It's just crazy because she found out that he was the one who killed his best friend like 8 years ago.
What?
So I mean, it's some crazy stuff. So I'm saying to an extent, privacy is good, but sometimes it is also good to find out things that are going on. And I guess Facebook was able to help him out with that on finding out how true this girl was.
That is crazy. The relationship password. Do you trust your partner enough to offer them your passwords, or do you trust them enough not to ask for theirs? This is a crazy topic. The relationship password. Do you trust your partner enough to offer them your passwords, or do you trust them enough not to ask for theirs? When is it considered infringement? Sometimes insecurity will cause you to go through your partner's stuff. How many of you out there have gone through your partner's stuff because you had a hunch and you went through it and you found nothing and you felt guilty about it? Somebody call me, 877-2-106-106. That's the number to dial. I'm telling you, this thing is nuts. We got questions. Would you end your relationship with your significant other if you found out that they were engaged in a long-term platonic online relationship? It was platonic, but it was long-term. and they shared secrets about themselves? And do you feel like there's a such thing as internet infidelity? We have attorney John V. Clark on the phone. He assisted in the book called How to Be Invisible. I have it in my hand, written by J.J. Luna. How do we secure our communications via pagers, cell phones, and handheld radios? And how do we secure that? I do know that email and SMS or text messages produce a permanent record. How do we secure our private conversations and stuff through those mediums, or is it impossible?
If your goal is to hide from Uncle Sam, the FBI, Homeland Security, forget about it. You're not going to be able to go to that level. If you're trying to maintain your privacy in a relationship and you've got a cell phone, that could be your best friend or your worst enemy. If that thing is out of your sight, you are insecure, because you can go on line right now, go on Amazon, any place, and for very little money, you can get a device where you can take the back of the phone off, grab the SIM chip out of it, plug this device in. It'll read everything your phone has done, included deleted text, whip that thing back into your phone. So in a matter of a few minutes, everything has been downloaded on a card that then plugs into a computer, and your significant other can be reading your emails, texts, looking at what you've been browsing.
This is revolutionary. What is this device called?
They go by a lot of different names, but if you Google SIM card readers, they're devices that read the little SIM card. If I pull the back off my BlackBerry here, in a matter of a couple seconds, I could pull out the SIM card.
And anything that phone has done while it was in your possession can be pulled back up.
If you could get it on your phone by searching, and if I look at my emails on my phone, I've got hundreds of them, and then if you deleted your texts, anything you've recently deleted will still be there. So if you think that you're going to suddenly delete a bunch of stuff and you're safe, depends on how tech savvy that partner of yours is.
Wow, we just pulled it up on the internet. It cost $100. Come on now. Let John stay with me. We're going to go to Saul from Buffalo. He says he's a Fed. Talk to me, Saul.
Hey, good evening. How are you?
What's up? Don't tell. Are you a Fed? Tell us the truth.
Yeah, I am.
Okay, well, tell us about privacy.
There is no privacy, and I'll tell you why. I had a birthday 2 months ago, and I tried to keep this quiet. Somebody typed in, I don't know how they found out that my birthday was in June, but they typed in my name, and this email went around, which you're not supposed to do. It went around the office, and it said, so-and-so has a birthday. And I just happened to click on the link because under my name was a lie. It gave my name and age, my mother's name and age, my father, my brother, not my sister, she's married, but my wife and a cousin that is deceased, just like my father is. And I went to the guy, I confronted him, and I wanted to know how he got my information. He just punched it up in a matter of 10 seconds. It was there. And this thing with keystrokes, they monitor everything we do on my job. Again, there is no privacy, and if you know what you're doing, you can find anything out about anybody.
Wow. So let me ask you this. Where did you say you worked? Could you share that with us?
Yeah. I work for the Veterans Administration.
Okay,
yeah,
so they're watching everything. Are you getting I know with those kind of jobs, those are Fed jobs or whatever, do they drug test you and do all of that stuff? Did you have to do that in order to get the job?
With us, by us having degrees or a military background, they didn't drug test us. And see, I have a master's degree, so I kind of got around that.
Okay.
But there was an extensive background check that went on for the better part of a year. Mm-hmm. And there were people that would get mail pertaining to me 8, 9, 10 months after I started. So,
wow. Well, you know what, Saul, let me say this, man. Thank you for reaching out to the Voice of Reason. I appreciate the information you shared with us. Thanks again for calling. I thought you were Mulder from the X-Files, but you're not. We need a real Fed to call us and tell us the truth about how we're being tracked and there is no privacy and it's dead. Back to John, our attorney friend, John Clark. He's a contributor of this book called How to Be Invisible by J.J. Luna, The Essential Guide to Protecting Your Privacy, Your Assets, and Your Life. Let me ask you another question. If you have an internet, because it says right here on the book, the information on your laptop at home and the office as you travel, is there a way to protect that information? Or as soon as you get to type in, it's just a done deal? Is that what we're saying?
It depends on what your purpose is. So we have to look at it in the context, because let's say you have you use good passwords that nobody knows what they are.
What's a good password? Give me an example. What's a good password versus a bad password?
A good password, which in the lingo is considered strong versus weak, is going to contain a capital letter, a number, and a special character if that website allows it. You can use programs like there's a program called LastPass that is free. You can download it on the internet. It encrypts your passwords, but it'll also create completely random passwords and then save them for you. But you've got to have the one difficult password to open that. And you can open it from any computer. Now, you do have to trust that the passwords are encrypted on the server. So the company that provides the software claims that they can't get your information because it's encrypted on their servers, so there's no way for them to look at it. It's just gibberish until you type in the master password. But the key thing is it puts out random passwords for all the sites that you visit. And let me explain why this is important. I had a client who's got a divorce and had moved on into another relationship, and the ex-wife was still prowling around, and he had not shared his passwords with her. But the fact is, she knew him. She'd been married to him, knew the types of things he would use, figured out his passwords. Most people's passwords are terrible, or they've been using the same password for the last 10 years, and it's the name of their dog or something. I mean, most police departments can find people by getting into their computer and just knowing some information about them and then figuring out what kind of password they would use.
Wow.
So, that's really having good random passwords is the best way to protect yourself, because I can't tell you how many times partners have just determined what the other person's password is.
Just because I know you, I can sit here and come up with some random concepts and ideas because I know you and figure out what your password is.
Right. I mean, and a lot of times there was a quick time, 6 months ago where you needed somebody to check your email, and you had your partner go in there, and you forgot that you had given the password, and now you've used that password on everything. In this case, the ex-wife got into the bank account, got right into the bank account.
Wow. And let me say this, John. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning into the Voice of Reason, we're talking about the relationship word. That's our topic tonight. If you don't know what that means, this is what it means. Do you trust your partner enough to offer them your passwords, or do you trust them enough not to ask for theirs? That's what we're talking about. We're talking about privacy. We're talking about snooping. We're talking about crossing the line, going through my stuff just because we're together. And we're talking about how privacy in itself is basically disappearing as technology continues to advance forward. So let me just say this. This is what I see. I see technology in the same light that I see those doctors and those researchers in the African safari down there with the animals. You know how they'll come and, tranquilize a rhino and put a little radio collar on its neck, and then we track where it goes or whatever. I believe that our radio collar is our cell phone or our email or our Facebook or whatever. I believe that's our radio collar. And I think at some point, and I think you know about this too, John Clark, and I want you to talk about it. I think at some point they're going to take the radio collars out of our pockets and off of the internet and put it in our bodies. You've heard about those RFID chips, right?
Absolutely.
Come on, could you tell our listeners what that is? What is an RFID chip?
RFID is radio frequency identification. I'll tell you, one of the places where we may start to see it, and you don't hear about this, is at Walmart. When you pick up your shopping cart, or let's say you got a coupon, you picked up a coupon coming in, there could be a little tiny microscopic chip in there that tells them where you are in the store, where you stopped, what you looked at, how long you were there. Mm-hmm. And by the time you check out, they could recreate your path through the store for marketing purposes. So this is an instance where it's not really an invasion of your personal privacy, but
it's more profiling, right? It's more of a profiling mechanism.
Right, but how easy would it be to slip something that into your pocket that was microscopic? And I mean, when you get into the freaky stuff, the DARPA, the Defense Research Agency, they're looking at dust particles that are radios. So they can just
nanotechnology, right?
Right. So they could just drop dust around that sticks to you, and you're marked.
And transmit it wherever you go, whatever you do, whatever you like, whatever your tendencies are, the whole 9 yards. Now, if that isn't the death of privacy, I don't know what is. We got to take another quick break. This show is off the chain, which is commonplace for the voice of reason. What are we talking about tonight? The relationship password. Do you trust your partner enough to offer them your passwords? Or do you trust them enough not to ask for theirs? I'll be back in 2 seconds.
To your house, call
Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, ZoWilliams back in the building. Foxxhole Radio. This is the best of the voice of reason with ZoWilliams. I had to do it. I couldn't leave the fans hanging. I know you guys tune in all the time to catch up with what meaningful, crazy, entertaining, riveting, poignant kind of topic I got planned for you. Well, guess what? We're doing the best of today, so we're going to kind of recap all of the meaningful things that we've talked about over the years. And let me just do this. One of my favorite shows, man, crazy show. We did a show in August. It was called the N-Word Show. There's a big flap about the N-word. Dr. Laura, she popped off and, killed us with 37 N-words or however many she said in a row. And then, people keep seeming to stumble and fumble over this word, its importance, its meaning. We did a great show. It was so crazy. We had an author on by the name of Furpo Carr, personal friend of mine, PhD, very intelligent cat. This guy wrote a book where he rewrote the definitions of all of the words in the dictionary and showed their racist origin. Crazy, off the chart. Talked about the N-word, where it came from. And if that wasn't ill enough, we also had the founder of Kwanzaa, Maulana Karanga, was on the same show. I mean, it was on fire. And if you don't believe me, listen to the clip and you tell me what you think. I'm telling you, you can find me, Voice of Reason, or you can find me at ZoWilliams.com. Go to my website, www.ZoWilliams.com, or Twitter at ZoWilliams. Tweet me everything you want to talk about. Maybe you got topic ideas. Tweet me, email me your topic ideas. We'll talk about it. I'll make it into a show. I'll be right back after these brief messages, but please check out the N-Word Show and tell me what you think of this clip. Peace.
Tell me that the message or something, right? Because you're doing something, trying to breastfeed with fucking foreign bodies in you.
So
was that it?
It has nothing to do with it.
Oh, it had nothing to do with what? The fact that you had foreign bodies in there?
Correct.
Correct, okay, good. So you're not lying to me about fake tits.
I never have.
Yes, you just did. You said they weren't. You fucking lied to me before.
What? I didn't. I never said anything of a kind. You never asked me, I never told you. Or maybe you asked me, but I never lied about this.
Not a lie, who cares? So, they look ridiculous. Get rid of them, why don't you? Anyway,
That's none of your fucking business what they
It is. They look stupid. I'm just telling you. It's just an appraisal. Keep them if you want. Look stupid. See if I give a fuck. But they're too big and they look stupid. They look like some Vegas bitch. They look like a Vegas whore. Mm-hmm. And you go around sashaying around in your tight clothes and stuff. I won't stand for that anymore.
I don't walk around.
I don't want to be that.
I don't walk around in tight clothes. I stay at home for most of the time.
You go out in public and it's a fucking embarrassment to me. You look like a fucking bitch on heat. And if you get raped by a pack of niggers, it'll be your fault. All right? Because
ladies and gentlemen, ZoWilliams, the voice of reason, has returned. The Anatomy of Racism in America, a deeper look into the origin of racial slurs. And before I left, I asked my callers, because I'll be getting to you too, whose comments were more denigrating, hurtful, to the black community. Dr. Laura, Don Imus, Jesse Jackson. Although Jesse Jackson's, they didn't really play Jesse Jackson. He was recorded secretly. Black people make the argument that we can say nigger in private, right? His was private, but they recorded it anyway. Be careful, Jesse. They recording you. Jesse Jackson's comments, certain hip-hop songs, or Mel Gibson. I just played Mel Gibson. Let me go to Jabari Asim. Answer that question. Whose comments were more hurtful?
I think that they're equally hurtful. I would not attempt to rank racist language or racist acts. Racism is racist.
Period.
Regardless of where it comes from. Yeah, period. And the fact that Jesse Jackson is African American, I really challenge the premise offered by some that African Americans own this word. In fact, take the completely opposite approach and say that if there's any word in the entire English language that African Americans should not want to claim ownership of, it would be this one.
Thank you.
Okay, Carol, your point?
I think that I said in the book that I don't think anyone has a right to use the word whether they're black or white. And incidentally, I don't like the term black and white because it puts it makes a stark contrast. But I don't know how else you could identify people without saying black or white. I don't even like the term black and white.
Wow. Okay. Furpo.
Okay, here we go. I think everyone who was black, Jesse Jackson and certain hip-hop individual stars, they are the most reprehensible because the white man already owns the word. Now, here's what I'm going to say about that real quick.
Give it to me.
All right, profanity, period. What makes a word bad? What makes a word cursed or profane?
Give it to us.
All right, well, here it is right here. I'll read it to you. Check this out. Many of our swear words, shit, pissed, and fucked, it says right here, for example, this is out of another source, have their origins of language in the Anglo-Saxons. Those words were perfectly normal. Shit, fuck, you name it.
Right.
What made it bad was that the Normans came and defeated the Anglo-Saxons.
Right.
And they said, if you use these words now, you're of a lower class. So fuck became, let's have sex. And shit became, or piss became urinate. And shit became defecate.
Right.
Those are Normandy words of Normandy. And the others are Anglo-Saxon. So the white man, we're talking English here, but we speak in a language that's not ours in the first place. So I say the ones who are most reprehensible are all the ones you mentioned who were black because they adopted this word from the poisonous mind of the racist white man.
Wow. Well, let me go even deeper. Right? I believe that, let me just say, I support the spirit of the youth because I think the word nigga and the way the youth are trying to recontextualize it to mean something different. Because you and I, we speak about stuff all the time.
Right.
And when we speak language, we have connotation and denotation.
All right.
The denotation is what the word means, its roots, its etymological histories, its beginnings. The connotation of the word is what is currently acceptable in society.
Whose society? How do we define society?
Well,
I mean, even the word you mentioned, denigrate. Do you know that word is in my book?
Tell me. What does it mean? Give it to us.
It means to blacken. Denigger. That's what it means, baby. Your mind and my mind, everyone's mind is poisoned.
Y'all
Mine
better get
too.
this book.
Hey, I'm telling you.
Poison words, poisoned mind. Y'all better get it.
Denigrate means to make black, to darken. Check it out. You don't have to believe me. Check out your own dictionary, and you'll see it yourself.
That's why
it's
you're
a
here.
Latin word, baby. I'm telling you.
Give me the other word for the buttocks.
Oh, man. Let me tell
Please.
you. Okay, here we go.
Because that goes back to Sarah Bartman. But give it to us.
Here it is. Calipigia. Calipigia means beautiful handwriting. Actually, calipigian means having shapely buttocks. Check it out. Webster's words, my book, Wicked Words, will tell you about it too, but Webster's Ninth New Collegiate Dictionary. So we have calipigia. It's related to calligraphy, beautiful handwriting. Cali means beautiful. And, of course, pigia means buttocks. Graphe means to write in Greek. So calipigia means beautiful buttocks. And then calligraphy means beautiful handwriting. Now, check this out. That's for the white woman because these are Greek words. The word for the black woman is steatopygia.
Go deeper.
All right, steatopygia. Here we go. Steatopygia means having an excessive amount of fat on the buttocks, especially in some Negroes peoples. That's verbatim just about out of Webster's Ninth New Collegiate Dictionary. So if you are a white woman, calipigia would apply to you.
It's beautiful booty.
That's right. But if you are a black woman, it's steatopigia.
It's too much booty.
Absolutely.
Jesus.
Absolutely. Now check this out. All Greek words, so we couple that with gorilla, and guess what we get? We have the definition of a woman in the dictionary, your dictionary and mine, the one you grew up on, the one that you saw on the teacher's desk. It says for our sisters that they are fat-ass, hairy black women.
Wow. Sexy gorillas.
And it's subliminal.
Absolutely, it is subliminal. Because check this out. That's right, sis. Now check this out. Here's why it's subliminal. Because words are vehicles for our thoughts.
Exactly.
No matter what language you speak. Now, if anyone wants to challenge that, all they have to do is try to think without words.
Well, you can't.
It's impossible. And you can have sign language, you can have pictograms and all of that. That's beautiful. But if you want to know the why of something, why is something the way it is, you're going to need words. They formulate our thoughts. So now if I give you these wicked words in the dictionary, which is next to the Bible as far as a book that has authority, then I'm controlling your thinking. So when you say, son, go look that word up, and then look up steatopigia and it says that your mama's a fat-ass gorilla,
wow,
then that's what you're liable to believe.
Wow, wow. And like she said, like Carol just said, it's subliminal. But let me finish that point. If our children have a desire to make the word their own and give it a different meaning, give it a connotation that's different from the denotation, I support it. But I think the flaw with the youth is they don't respect history.
Really, well, here's what I would say to that. The connotation, the denotation, I'll believe that about our youths when they write a dictionary.
Wow. But wait, Furpo, and Jabari, you can jump in on this, and Carol as well. I believe that we have to support our youth from a space of where we're not condescending to them.
Okay, we
have to empower them. We got to say, well, you know what? I applaud the fact that you want to change this word, but change it from a perspective of knowledge of the past, kind of like the African Sankofa understanding.
Well, speaking of African, guess what? If they did that, they would be the only black youth in the world to do that. The youth in South Africa, our young brothers and sisters over there, the youth in Jamaica and the other places, they don't accept the racist word of the white mind.
Absolutely.
Well, I think that's also true of many youth in the United States. And I think we have to be really careful when we talk about saying youth want to transform this word. In my research and my travels, I've actually interviewed and encountered more African American youth who do not buy into the idea that they can transform this word.
Right, but I'm talking about not the word itself, but the desire to want to change the meaning. So, like for instance, we choose. I mean, go back to Chris Rock's perspective when he talked about soul food.
Okay,
he was like, soul food is trash, but black people have a way of changing trash into something great. But you know what?
I think that analogy doesn't stand up at all.
But let me finish the point, Jabari.
Go ahead.
Imagine if black youth had access to Furpo's book, your book, and other books out there that connects them to the past, their history, their rich history beyond the history that was force-fed on them. I'm talking about Christianity. I'm talking about history. Because, you know, most history books only go back to Martin Luther King. They don't even talk about Malcolm X. We won't talk about. But I'm saying, imagine if the youth had a rich history, and imagine if they had a choice between nigga and negus.
What I would say is this.
Listen to the word negus.
All right, okay.
Right?
All right.
The Amharic word for king.
Okay.
Sovereign king. Negus. That's what the sovereign kings of Ethiopia called themselves. Negus. Mm-hmm. Imagine if black youth had an opportunity to choose between nigga and negus. I'm just saying the black youth just made the best of what they had. Can we support that?
I think that they have so much more that they can work from. I mean, they're not limited to two words.
We're in agreement there. They could choose more.
Here's what
they could choose something else.
Here's what I would say about that. My comment on that was the only reason they would be doing that is because nigger is already out there. So when you talk about the seminal idea of it, that was planted by racist white people who said nigger, and so said nigga, and now someone in retrospect is saying, hey, well, let's try to get this is what you're suggesting, the Amharic word that they speak, Amharic, of course, in Ethiopia, unless you go to ancient Ethiopic or Ge'ez, where you probably won't find that word. But in any event, here it is. You look at that, and the origin is questionable. So I'll just conclude this portion right here. If I am allergic to lemons, period, I got to tell you, throwing some water and some sugar in it ain't going to change it.
Right.
And that's what I got to say about that.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the voice of reason, ZoWilliams on Foxxhole Radio. The Anatomy of Racism in America, a deeper look into the origin of racial slurs. Is the N-word, the nigga word, nigga, N-E-G-G-A, is that word the most reviled, the most evil, the most reprehensible word on planet Earth?
Yeah, it is, because the Southern white man, all of them didn't say nigger. Nigga came from the Southern white man. I don't know what these rappers and hip-hop brothers talking about, like, oh, I'm saying nigga. No, they're not. It's in my book, Wicked Words, Poison Minds, Racism, the Dictionary. Break it down, baby.
Furpo, Carol, and Jabari, what if, right, this particular word can be redeemed? Is there any redeeming qualities?
You know my answer.
No.
I'll let the others answer, right? Absolutely not.
No.
All right, so let's do this.
I agree.
Okay. We're going to go to callers right now, and I want all of my guests, right? All of my guests. I want you guys to chime in on what the callers may have to say. Is nigger worse than faggot? Is nigger worse than half-breed, honky, Jap,
Absolutely.
nip?
All of them. It is. Absolutely.
Sand nigger, cracker, coon.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
Right? Gook.
Faggot is something that you burn. English. That's an English word.
That's a cigarette.
It's a cigarette.
I can't even use
all right?
coon on a blog. They blip it out.
Yeah.
Is it worse
Talking
than...
about my Maine Coon cat.
Ooh, my ace boom coon is what we say. I've heard it.
Our minds are warped. You and I have used it growing up. Let me tell you, before I was conscious, I used it. Come on, man.
Let's go deeper. Callers, Ronnie from Mississippi. Chime in, please.
How's it going? Hey, guys, I just want to say, hey, I'm a military officer in the Army, and I was an advisor in the military regarding discrimination and racism. I was trained down in the Army down in Florida. I advise commanders on these words, and let me say that it's derogatory no matter who it comes from.
Thank you.
But when it comes from black people, I just think it's based on socialization and the self-hate that we have for ourselves.
All right. That's right. I'm with you. I agree.
And based on the investigations I've had to do, only white people have no stereotypes that show them in a negative light. Every other race out there has a negative stereotype. And only white people or European has taught other races to hate black people with that word.
Right. Thank you.
So Asians don't hate black people because they know black people. They hate black people because
white people perpetuate an image. Right.
That image.
Ronnie, I got so many callers, brother. I hate to cut you off, but thank you for contributing to the show tonight. That was excellent. And you brought up a great point. Even the racial slurs for white people are racial slurs that come from a perspective of power, right? Cracker.
And there are very few of them.
Cracker. A cracker is the white guy that cracked the whip. So that's still from a perspective of power. He's called a cracker because he was cracking the whip. So even when we have a racial slur for him, honky, right? The honky came from white men going to Harlem to pick up sisters. They go to the neighborhoods. They didn't want to get out the car. They honked the horn. Come on out here and get in the car. Your honky's here.
Teach us, brother.
That's from a space of power. That's not from a space of, oppression. Even our slang terms and racial slurs for them is from a space of power, man. It's crazy. Mike from Chicago, you're in the voice of reason. It's time to holler.
Hey, Zoe, how you feel there, panel?
I'm good.
Couple of things I wanted to share with you. If, to my understanding, where I was passed down to me, that nigger came from a land where we was in Africa, and Napoleon couldn't pronounce the name nigger. How you pronounce Negro? So he said nigger, which brought it to the European. That's one. And then for anybody else to call us nigger, no, because see, first it was already bad. and then we changed it to something good. Then they end up putting it in their Webster dictionary and saying, hey, this is a negative word of a lazy, trifling person, so on, so on. So that's another thing. Now, as far as the one that did the most disrespect, I feel they supposed to be leaders. They supposed to be showing us the right way. For them to speak of what they spoke, Dr. Laura, Jesse Jackson, Mel Gibson, which be on TV and stuff like that. No, you're not showing us the way we supposed to go. You're not pointing the right direction. And that's all I have to say about it.
Thank you very much, brother. I appreciate the call. William from Minnesota, let me talk to you.
Hello?
Yeah, William, go ahead.
Yeah, I just have a quick comment. It was interesting to hear Mel Gibson tell his girlfriend, "Oh, you get raped by a pack of niggers," because that word instills so much fear in the old white community, you know. And you talk about the black guys, they're rabid, they're wild, they're brutish, kind of like the Brutus Jones.
Right, birth of a nation. Ladies and gentlemen, Zometheus rising back in the building. Just really sitting back, man, and enjoying flying to Atlantic City for the big Foxxhole bash. Shouldn't leave all of my faithful listeners and fans out there hanging. We got to do a best of Voice of Reason, and now's the time. Let me tell you another one of my favorite shows. These shows, man, they get kind of personal, man, and one of the shows got really personal, dude, and that was the Who Rapes the Rapist show. And earlier that day, one of our radio personalities by the name of Brandy McGee was here doing an interview with Music Soul Child. And she decided to stay to see, the process of the Voice of Reason, Zometheus Rising, how we do our show. And she got wind of the topic, man, and it really moved her. I mean, she was quiet for a minute, and it looked like she was welling up on the sideline. And I just, hey, you okay? She was like, yeah, I'm good. She was just like, this topic is pulling me in, man. It's making me want to share. So I said, you want to share something? She told me a little bit. I said, now it's up to you. You could share it. Who Rapes the Rapist? That was the name of the show. How to gain your power back from the rapist. And that was the purpose of naming it Who Rapes the Rapist. Because you rape the rapist when you regain your power. Because rape is about destruction of power, taking somebody's power. And I'm going to tell you, Brandy took her power back. Listen to the clip. Tell me how you feel. We'll be back.
Hello, Zoe.
Hey. Damn, you about to make me tear up in this piece.
No, you don't have to do that. But
okay.
If you do, I've got Kleenex.
Okay, thank you. So talk to me. What happened?
Okay, so for all of you listeners out there, hi, everybody. I was actually, like Zoe said, I was in here on some completely other business and just decided to listen into this show and found out that this is a topic that hits very close to home to me, to the point where this is something that I have never spoken to my family about ever in life. And I asked Zoe if he thought that I should share. And I don't know, I just feel compelled to do it because I understand what it is. Mm-hmm. When I was 13 years old, I had never in my life ever had any sexual experience prior to. I think I just had my first boyfriend peck on the cheek sort of thing, maybe 2 or 3 months prior to that. I was sexually assaulted by a man who told me that he was 19 years old. And I never reported it. I never told my family. I was visiting an aunt out of town at the time and in the care of her older teenager her older daughter who was 19. And she was hanging out with some guys that she had met the week or two prior, and I came up for a visit. I've not told my mother about this, so I'll deal with y'all later if y'all find out about it. But I understand what it's like to carry that around with you. I was I'll tell you briefly what I'm kind of, like I said, I wasn't planning this, so it's kind of, I don't know where to start. This is what happened. I was visiting my cousin. Her parents were off at work during the second shift, so all the evening hours, and I was hanging out with her. I was kind of in her care. I was 13. It was my first time ever even being out of town, and she was hanging out with some guys. So it was like a guy and his cousin would come over and visit and hang out, and we'd go to the movies and all of that sort of thing. My cousin was actually dating one of them, and they would kind of hang out the whole evening when her mother was away. And my cousin who was dating the guy, they would kind of go off and do the thing that older teenagers do. And I was then left with this other guy in the TV room. Mm-hmm. And, he came on to me, and I was, kind of, I think there was a part of me that wanted to feel grown up because I was 13 and everybody else was around 20. But at the same time, I was 13 and mm-hmm. I, didn't have any sexual experience. So he kind of came on to me, and it got uncomfortable. And I told him, that I had, I don't want to do this, and he was like, well, he kept trying to be convincing and trying to do everything that was kind of, sitting, putting his arm around me, and it became very uncomfortable. But not having experience with men at all, I don't know how to handle this. Mm-hmm. So he kept, everything he would do would kind of push forward. I had on a very long dress at the time, I think, and he kept trying to pull it up, and I told him that, I don't want to do this, and he everything he did kept going. Now, it wasn't a violent rape, and I think that was probably number one reason why I felt like that whatever happened in that room was my fault. Mm. But the thing I'll say is that even if I had laid there and spread my legs open wide and said, give it to me, I was 13 and he was 19. So if nothing else, it was definitely a statutory rape. But the first thing I dealt with was the fact that I felt like because I wasn't clocked over the head and beaten, that it took a while for me to even understand that I was indeed raped. He kept pushing forward and pushing forward. I tried to tell him no, to the point where I even told him, I've never done this before, because once it got to the point where I don't know how to get out of this, I was like, well, maybe if I tell him that, I've never done this before, it will make him back down, foolish, a kid thinking. That actually made him go more aggressively. So eventually he kept forcing himself on me to the point where I just didn't know how to not make it happen anymore. I didn't know. So I never consented to it. I just stopped saying no because he wouldn't stop moving forward.
Wow.
And so all of this happened while my cousin was off in another room. She came back, at the end of the night, we all got back together. I think she knew that something went down, but I think that she thought that it was something that I had consented to. And I was afraid to say anything. I thought that if I tell my mother, they're going to say that you were being grown, you were being fast, and it was my fault. This happened for the next 3 days in a row. Over and over again. And I would go, when they left, I would go into the shower and I was crying because I did not know what to do. And I knew that I was going to be left alone with this guy again, and the same thing was going to happen over and over and over again. And I think on the third day, it was just like there was this overwhelming feeling of, I cannot let this happen. I don't want this. And by the third day, we actually got into a physical altercation, because at that point, my sense of self-worth was like, hold on. So I got to let somebody know that I don't want this. So that by then we got into a fight, which of course the other two thought was kind of like a lover's quarrel. Because in their mind, they're thinking that, I'm just kicking it with him. But I'm thinking, oh my God,
help me.
Please don't leave me with this guy again.
Right.
So, all of that went down, and after that, it was it became I wouldn't deal with the guy again. It was like there was some strength that came out from inside of me that said, you got to do something. So I dealt with this internally in the following years after that. Fortunately for me, I want everybody to know that this isn't a victim thing. I don't want any sympathy. This is not why I'm telling you this. I'm telling you this because I understand what it's like to carry that. I understand what it's like to not want everybody to think it was your fault. I understand to think because you weren't, black-eyed and bloodied and beaten and bruised, that you consented to it. I want you guys to know that just, that person was doing something wrong. I had to learn, and it took, I wrote in a journal when I was a kid. It took really kind of a lot of self-reflection and years to kind of come to terms with it and deal with it on my own. But even up until this day, up until this very moment, I've never spoken that to the aunt that I was visiting at the time. I never really explained to my cousin that was kind of essentially sort of babysitting me, or we were hanging out. I never explained to her that all of those things didn't happen because I wanted them to. I've never even told my mother about this because I was so afraid of it being turned in on me. And what happened after that is that because of that, so that feeling of helplessness, that feeling of this guy's going to come in and I know what he's going to do and I know I'm not going to want it, and I didn't like that feeling. So after that day when I was finally able to actually physically fight and get him away from me, I still buried it, but I became, I would say, rebellious against it in terms of, from that point on, I never wanted to feel like sex and sexuality dominated me and who I was. I always wanted to have mastery over myself, over my sexuality, over my ability, and how it went. And I think in a way, I mean, before then, I was the little girl who was gonna, I was waiting for Prince Charming. I was never gonna have sex until I was married.
Made you a realist.
And all of a sudden, after that, it was like, I think the very next time when I was a teenager that I had consensual sex, I did it because I'm not a virgin anymore. What else am I holding on to?
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, if Brandy McGee's story is your story, call us right now. 855-369-9898. I've got to take a break. I've got to hear some music. We need a beautiful record right now. Can we get Stevie Wonder's A Ribbon in the Sky? We need something to lift us back up. We need some kind of musical break. And when I come back, I promise you, I'm going to get to my callers and my next guest who is going to teach us how to heal. Let me just say, I am humbled by you, Brandy. You are a different human being to me today because you did something that most women are afraid to do in the face of that kind of trauma.
And that's the only reason why I'm talking about it right now, because I understand that, and I don't want women to be afraid to. I don't want you to be afraid to find someone to talk to if you need to, or find some way to deal with that so that you can become healthy, because it is something that, even though I feel like I dealt with it in a way that was healthy for me, it's not something that is a burden on my life. I don't think it damaged me, so I do want to make that clear. But I do know that it took a while, a long time of self-reflection and trying to kind of understand what happened as a kid to me and how that affected my own personal journey. And if you want to give me a call at 855-369-9898 so that we can talk about this and share your story.
Share it with Brandy. If you don't want to talk to me, please share your story with her. She's here with me right now. ZoWilliams, Voice of Reason, Foxxhole Radio. It's a crazy show today, but let's do it. I'll be right back to talk to you. Yo, my goodness, man, this show has been crazy. I'm rambling through all of the topics that I've covered. I'm getting down towards the end, and guess who falls into the building? Oh, my goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, one of Jamie Foxx's artists. Jamie Foxx, man, this guy is doing movies, just signed on to do the Django movie. This is crazy. I mean, the dude does music, he does acting, comedy, but he also signs talent. And a lot of people can't say that, a big name person believes in other people and give them opportunities and shots. Well, Jamie Foxx does that. Brains is the artist that the dude signed to his publishing company. And Brains brings in a new talent here who Brains himself signed to his company called Brains Town. Now, Brains signed a publishing deal with Fox, and he worked on Fox's last album. He worked on 3 songs on his last album. But this is what's interesting about Brains. He signs this new talent by the name of Blizz. Blizz is out of Ontario, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Canada.
And man, what kind of music? And I don't want to give it away. Because I don't want to give away the story about how your stepfather is the one who kind of introduced you to the fire of your music, of your spirituality. Where you going with this? Tell me about the influence of the music you do, and why does it speak to you so much?
Okay, well, yeah, as it is, I'm a dancehall artist, reggae music. So for me, my real father passed away. I grew up with a Jamaican stepfather, so I spent a lot of time going back and forth to Jamaica when I was young. So that's how it all started for me, that's how I was inspired. I picked it up and fell in love with the culture, and everything just came about like that.
Well, how did Brains find you?
Brains,
Was he in Canada? Did he go all the way up there to get you?
No, I was lucky enough to meet Brains through my manager, Leroy Williams. And that's how it all came about. Came to L.A., met up with Brains. Ever since then, we just been banging out crazy tracks, working on music, you know what I mean? I'm just trying to get together some of my singles and decide on which one we're going to push out.
So let me, on the Voice of Reason, we get personal sometimes. What's your ethnicity?
Actually, it's funny you said that because I actually have my own, came up on my own nationality. I call it Ishadian. Ishadian, this is where it comes from. It stems because I'm Irish, Scottish, English, Romanian, Ukrainian, and Canadian. So therefore, it's Ishadian. You know what I mean?
That's crazy. Hey, you know what's interesting? Music, man. It transcends the borders, man, of where we come from. And a lot of times we get territorial about it.
For sure.
But I can see that there's an authentic movement in you with this music. Has Fox heard it yet?
Yeah, Fox has heard a couple of my tracks. He's loving it, you know what I mean? Brain just let me know that he's feeling it. So, like I said, I'm up here grinding. I'm trying to be up here as much as I can because this is where it's at, you know.
And you're from Canada. I'm sure you got health care.
Yeah. Lucky. I guess it's not like that here. I'm not too sure how things work out here.
So if it ever goes bad, just go back home.
Yeah, for sure.
Don't get hurt. But let me give you a little bit more information on my homeboy Brains here. Now, Brains has done work with many artists such as Pink, Jamie Foxx, Snoop Dogg, Crazy Bone, Common, and so many others, man. And he's worked on movies, Pootie Tang, Hardball. I mean, the dude is, and he's also worked on the Afion Crockett show, which is getting ready to come out, man. And that's going to be crazy, the sketch comedy show. So you can see that Brains and Fox, they got their tentacles and their hands in a bunch of stuff, man, and they're trying to change the game. Man, I appreciate you for taking out the time, man, and joining me here on The Voice of Reason. Okay, so really quickly, I know my fans want to hear because they're about the proof, too. This is the United States, and one of our states is called Missouri or Kansas, and I think one of those states is the Show Me State. So show me what you can do. I want to believe that Jamie Foxx has the right ear and Brains has the right ear. Let's hear some of your stylings.
Hey, yo, well, you don't know, say, the big boss, a.k.a. the firecracker. And right now, I'm there in the LA, I'm about to bust a little verse in. Watch ya. Blizzard at the top of top, the boom shakalaka, the snap crackle popping on your back, we give you a heart attack. Reggae DJ rapper slash, barber in the barber shop. We got a lot of fans and that ask me for my autograph. The da that spit da rap and walk with a swagger that nobody can copycat. They don't know.
Okay, that was fire. So what we're gonna do right now, we don't want no more acapella. We want to hear the real record. We're about to put his record on right now. Tell me again, what's the name of the brother's record? Never Give Up is a world exclusive on the Voice of Reason, Foxxhole Radio, Blizzard. Short, we're going to call him Blizz up in this piece. Blizz is about to blaze y'all with a world exclusive record. We're about to play it right now. I'll be back. Thank you for coming on. Man, this has been an incredible show. Too many shows to get to. I missed a lot of them, man. I wanted to play a clip from the Battle of the Sexes, Battle of the Planets with John Gray. We didn't get a chance to get to that. I wanted to give y'all a clip of the Anger Management Show. But listen, I could keep going. We got so many shows, so many topics that we've covered, man. We left no stone unturned when it comes to relationships. And we got so many more shows to do. If you really want to stay in tune with me, man, you got to tune back in on Thursdays from 7 to 9 p.m. Foxxhole Sirius XM 98. I'm telling you, this show right here is like radio's black hole. Once you tune in, the gravitational force of these topics will not let you tune out. Trust me, I'm inviting you to come in and stay in with us right here. Great show, great fun, water cooler stuff. Please stay in touch with me at ZoWilliams on Twitter or at Foxxhole. You got to get the number, call number 855-369-98. Email me, zo@SiriusXM.com, or go to my website, www.ZoWilliams.com. I had a great time. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next week with another heater. Peace.